You're right, guys. Welcome to Football and Fitness United. My name's James, and Chelsea won, Manchester United won, and what a roller coaster that was in a game which really not much happened, but it all seemed to happen in the last 5 or 10 minutes. It was absolutely crazy. I came in at half time and I was questioning whether we were going to rue missed opportunities and not going ahead when we were on top possession-wise, and it looked like we were going to. They scored a penalty near the end, and if it wasn't for a bit of magic from one of our players, we'd have come away with 0 points. And yeah, it would have been tough to take, to be honest, because I think the display at Stamford Bridge, considering it's a tough side to go to away from home that are in 4th place in the Premier League, I think it was. I think it would have been really harsh, because I think a point was justified, and you could argue the case for 3 as well. So yeah, it would have been tough. So I'm really glad we got the last minute equalizer. And just put down below if you can like the video, comment, share, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff, because it helps us grow. I think we're 550 now. We've had a mental day, and we always tend to get more growth on match days, but that's a bit crazy. So fair play to anyone that shared stuff and sent to their mates and stuff. I massively appreciate it. And yeah, if anyone wants to jump in, I've put the link as always in the StreamYard. A couple of people have said they might jump in. If not, I'll run solo and do it on my own. It's not a problem. If you're watching on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, if you want to hop over to YouTube, that way you can get involved in the comment section and all that. It just helps me interact and stuff, and helps the fluidity of the show. But yeah, let's get into it. I mean, main talking points: injury to Varane. Really tough to see. I think he knows in his mind that his World Cup is not, well, it's over, basically. I think he's stretched and locked out. So my first thought was like, oh, it's like an ACL injury, right? But then he got up and walked off. So I'm like, maybe it's not. Maybe it's like a partial tear of his hamstring, but it's still too much to recover from in time. So I think he knew. He was visibly very, very upset. And I think he was that upset because he knew that his chances of going to the World Cup with France were very, very small. So best wishes, obviously, to Raphael Varane. Hope he gets fit again as soon as possible, because there's no doubt that he's part of our best centre-back partnership, and we're a much better team when he is in it. However, Lindelof came in today and did a good job, and he's done a good job in the couple of games that he's played, in fairness. So fingers crossed, he's good as a ball playing centre-back, so fingers crossed he can come in and help the team now that he's going to be needed for at least the next few weeks and probably next few months, if I'm honest. So that was the first major talking point. The second major talking point is the introduction of Scott McTominay and the foul that led to the penalty, which Jorginho obviously scored to make it 1-0. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying it's not a penalty. I watched the match reaction of Mark on the United stand, and he basically said it's never a penalty. It's a foul, but it's not a penalty, which is a contradiction, because a penalty is just a foul that takes place in the box. So if you're acknowledging it's a foul, you're acknowledging it's a penalty. So that didn't really make sense to me. I get what he means, because he's saying that it's not enough to give to change a game kind of thing. But at the end of the day, if you judge it a foul, it has to be a penalty. And it's clearly a foul for me. I know it happens enough, but you need to eradicate it from the game. Yes, there's jostling and stuff, and putting one arm across and stuff is fine, but you can't grab someone with 2 arms. He may go down easily, but you can't put 2 hands around someone and do that. And it's very, very naive from Scott McTominay. Yeah, if he doesn't get caught, he's fine. And probably 9 times out of 10, he doesn't get caught doing that. But the one time that you do, the ref calls it and you give away a penalty, and it looked like ruining the hard work that the whole team had put in all game. And if I was part of that starting 11 and I was Casemiro or Martinez or Dalot, and I'd been fighting all game and putting a great performance, then I'd be livid that someone had come on and just given that away. And you know, I'm not like, I'll call out like individual situations when people make bad decisions and stuff. And it was a very, very bad decision from Scott. If I'm honest, you can't really get round it. Alan here says definite pen. If that was the other way around, United fans would be an uproar, mate. Yeah, it's 100% a penalty. It's 100%. It doesn't even need to go to VAR. As soon as he puts his arms around it, the player's in front of him. As soon as he puts both arms around him like that, it's a given. It's a definite pen. I think people just react emotionally at the time and take all like logic and reasoning out of it. Like you said, if it's the other way, then it's 100% a pen. So I don't understand why they're complaining, to be honest. So yeah, Jorginho steps up. Long delay, obviously, for the penalty, but he's got an excellent penalty record. Did he miss in the Euros final, maybe? But apart from that, he seems to score the majority of his penalties. So he steps up, had his little skip and a jump, waited for De Gea to go, sent him the wrong way. And the Chelsea fans and the players go mad, and it looks like they've snuck a win, really. And it was really, really gutting to see at the time. But then 6 minutes added time. We obviously couldn't make any subs because we'd gone through our whole 3 different times when we can make subs or whatever. So we're stuck with no subs. So we chuck Scott McTominay up front. We lump a load of long balls forward, and we hope for the best. And we have one real bit of quality all game, and that is a ball in from Luke Shaw and a world-class header from Casemiro, who actually jumps in the way of Scott McTominay and somehow manages to arch his neck and get enough power on it and direction to loop it into the corner. And Kepa nearly made an excellent save, to be honest, but it crosses the line by millimetres, absolute millimetres. But what a performance from Casemiro, though. I think he was one of our better players anyway. I don't think it was his best performance, but he was one of our better players for sure. Especially in the first 35 minutes, he ran the game, but he was given the space to run the game. He had a bit of adjustment period before halftime when they changed it. He lost possession quite a few times because he was all of a sudden swamped and had less time on the ball. But then he readjusted in the second half and he was fine. But absolute brilliant header. And what I love, right, this summer transfer window, people were going on last season about us not having any warriors, not having any characters, really weak mentality in the dressing room. I don't know what's going on. Let's see. Don't know why this is happening. That's weird. But yeah, it's a strange one. Like last season, we had no mentality, and then he signs Casemiro, he signs Malacia, he signs Martinez, and he's just signed a load of people with a winning mentality, to be honest. And it's really, really good to see, because I just think we've just got players that fight now. And I come back to it, but I said before, you've got Fred, right, who put in an awful performance against Newcastle on the Sunday. He was like a 3-4 out of 10. And then Wednesday comes around and he drops like an 8 or 9 out of 10. And for me, that's showing more character and resilience and warrior-like nature than anything else. And I love that, because last season, I don't think you'd have seen Fred put in a performance like that after his Newcastle one. But he bounced back and put in a great performance. In fairness, he came on today, wasn't great, but I think there's a lot more characters, a lot more fight and everything in the dressing room. Let's see what we've got. A few comments. It's Bruno and Casemiro. I'm at work and saw you live and decided to come in and say hi and spread positivity. Hope you have a great Saturday. Hope you have a great Saturday in work, mate. I'm sorry you're in work, but big up yourself, Raz. Thanks for all the support and stuff. Didn't have your Twitter handle before, by the way. So when I was thanking people for the growth of the channel, I missed you out, but you're a big support to the channel and stuff. So massively, massively appreciate it. Brush in the house. We're missing that killer instinct. Got to make the most of our chances or get punished. All in all, to make it through 3 games in a week undefeated, there's some positives to take away for sure. Yeah, 100%. Newcastle game disappointing. Spurs game excellent. Draw away at Stamford Bridge is actually a good result. I know the way it happened is a bit bizarre and it's leaving us with mixed emotions, but all in all, very, very good. Brush also saying we're slowly building something special, which I agree with. I think if you would have told me last year that we'd be disappointed to come away with a point at Stamford Bridge in a game that for the first 35 minutes until the changes were made that we dominated, then I'd have been I wouldn't have believed you. The growth in the team is great. Erik ten Hag is making the correct decisions when it comes to the lineup. He's tactically improving players, no doubt. He's coaching players. I mean, look at the improvements in Dalot. Look at the improvements in Luke Shaw. There's various players that have improved across games. I know it wasn't evident today, but McTominay's improved. Rashford's improved. So he is doing a good job at coaching players. 3 months into a rebuild, and wow. And I agree, if we'd have won that game and then won our game in hand, we'd have been third ahead of Spurs and Chelsea, which is crazy considering we lost our first 2 games, handily. So I think the people that are giving Erik ten Hag a hard time, he's not the one that can't finish the chances on the pitch. He's the one that gets the players into a system and gets them to try and apply themselves in the best way possible. But at the end of the day, it is their job to actually apply themselves. And when the chance comes to take it, He can only work out a system that best provides them that opportunity. It's up to them to do it for the 90 minutes on the pitch. And unfortunately, some of the players weren't up to it today. Brush saying that he might need Raz to take a tactical toilet break and call in, and Raz just laughing it off. Not everyone just calls in. Anyway, Brush comes in normally without his camera. So, Raz, if you do call from the toilet, camera off, yeah? Just a little warning for you. But yeah, really interesting. Casemiro, very, very good and ecstatic. And where I was going with the whole Warrior thing was like, did you see his celebration at the end? Like grabbing the badge. He must have screamed yes about 6 times. It was like, yes, yes, yeah, just screaming his head off. Love that passion. Love, love, love that passion. All about it. So plenty of guys watching. Going to do player ratings now. So we're going to go through the whole team. So get your ratings in the chat, because there's quite a few that are probably going to disagree with me, because I've got a few high, a few low. I'm trying to take some perspective from it, thinking that we're away at Stamford Bridge and it was a tough game. So while we didn't play amazing like we did it against Spurs, it's a really, really tough place to go. And you might see this in my rating as well, but Alan saying if I was woman, I'd have Martinez's kids. Yeah, he's a very, very, very easy man to love at the moment if you're a Manchester United fan. I'll tell you that for free. So we'll go on to player ratings. And first we'll go on to the keeper. So get yours in the chat. What did you give De Gea? For me, he gets a 5 today. 6 is average. So De Gea gets a 5 from me. He didn't really have much to do, so he would have been a 6. But I thought his distribution was back to being a little bit poor today, if I'm honest. I thought like there was 2 or 3 clearances where he could have easily found a man, and I think he just wasted the opportunity, found the opposition. I think a 5 is fair, but I can also see why people can give him a 6. It's not out of order to give him that, to be fair. This one is probably going to shock a lot of people because they probably won't have him this high. But I thought Dalot was an 8 today. I thought he was absolutely excellent. I really, really do. And I think the improvement in Diogo Dalot's game this season is remarkable. Absolutely remarkable, because this was the player that couldn't defend, right? Under Ranić, like he just, or Oli or whoever, he just couldn't defend. He was all right going forward. He couldn't defend. Not anymore. Not anymore. They have nothing down their left-hand side today. And Diogo Dalot was excellent. I thought he was very, very good. Thought he was good going forward as well. Thought he got involved. I think he's very, very combative and tough to beat in the air as well. And I really like what I saw from Dalot today. I really, really did. 7-ish. So people thinking he's good, but not as good as I did, which is completely fair enough. You don't have to agree with me on all of them. The next one, I think if Alan gave 7-ish to Dalot, he's probably going to agree with my Martinez rating, and that is an 8 for Martinez. Lisandro Martinez is a superb footballer. He's an absolutely brilliant defender. But let's push that to one side, because I get called a passion merchant because I love people that care and I love people that like show desire and fight for the badge. This guy does it. He just gets it. He gets the whole Manchester United thing. He gets the whole fighting for every ball thing and just leaving it all on the pitch. And that's why it's so easy to love him, right? That's why it's so easy to connect with him. And that's why people love Nemanja Vidic. And that's why people love Jaap Stam. And it's why they love Steve Bruce. And it's why they love countless centre-backs that have done that, because they just throw their head in with complete disregard for their own safety. They just will do absolutely anything to win a football match. And let's move that aside as well. Let's park that and just think about the fact that he's excellent on the ball. Until Varane went off today, he was also excellent on the ball. We were breaking the lines quite a bit from centre-back. Lisandro Martinez has got a great left foot and he's very, very good. Very good on the ball. I was very happy with Martinez today. And you can be worried about Varane being out and, you know, Lindelof coming in. But I think Lindelof with Martinez could be interesting, you know, because I think Martinez is the organiser among the two. And Lindelof seems okay when he's played with him so far. Lindelof's also good on the ball. And I'm hoping that Martinez can carry Lindelof along to some good performances, because we're not conceding many goals this season. So for me, very, very happy with Lisandro Martinez today. Very, very happy. Next to him, it's a bit of a sour point, to be honest. Varane, I'll give a 7. He wasn't on as long as Martinez, obviously, so I don't think he can really get as high a rating, but it's so sad to see, man. Raphael Varane has just been plagued with injuries. That there is a reason, and I could be wrong, But there must be a reason why Real Madrid sold Raphael Varane in his prime, age-wise, to Manchester United. And you've got to look at it and think, Real Madrid aren't stupid. And it was only, 40 million quid, something like that, if that. So there's got to be a reason that they sold Varane, because if he was going to play every game and he was going to be part of their centre-back partnership going forward, etc., then it's a no-brainer they keep him. And the thing with centre-back partnerships is they are probably the only place on the pitch where you need a partnership. It's not just about individual ability. It's about working together and complementing each other's strengths and weaknesses, right? And that's what was really, really tough to see today, because Martinez and Varane have that back two on lockdown. They look like giving nothing away. They played Harry Kane and Son the other day. Didn't have a sniff. One went home with Kane in the pocket. One went home with Son in the pocket. Literally gave them nothing. And they didn't give anything to Chelsea today while they were on the pitch either. They were working off scraps, to be honest. So it's a massive shame. I said earlier, I thought at the time it was his ACL because he stretched and his knee seemed to kind of jar a bit. So I thought it was his cruciate ligament. When he got up to stand, because I've done my cruciate, he got up and walked and he wasn't limping massively. He was putting quite a bit of weight on his foot. So I don't think it's cruciate ligament. I think it's probably going to be his hamstring. So either a pull or a micro tear. So you're probably looking about 6 weeks, and he was probably upset because he felt it go. He probably felt a snap if it was like a mini tear or a partial tear of his hamstring. And it looks like he's going to be out of the World Cup, which is a major miss for Raphael Varane and a major miss for Manchester United in a period of the season where we could do with picking up a good few run of points, and then that puts us in a good position going forward for the break for the World Cup. So it's really sad to see. But Varane gets a 7 from me. And the man next to him continuing his good form, Luke Shaw. I thought he was good again today. It could have been an 8 for sure, if I'm honest. I don't think Luke Shaw's really put a foot wrong in the last 3 or 4 performances since he's come in from Malasia. And I'll say it again, I've said it several times, people with a Luke Shaw agenda need to stop, right? They need to stop going on about his weight. They need to stop going on about the fact that he's been here for 8 years and we can't rely on him, and he only gets fit when there's competition and it's a disgrace. Luke Shaw is playing the best football at left back for Manchester United at the moment. Therefore, if you're a Manchester United fan and you want the team to do well, you want the person that is going to fit that position best at the moment. I don't care if they're the future of left back. I don't care if we can rely on them in the past. I care if I can rely on them right now to put in a performance in a Manchester United shirt. And quite clearly, at the moment, you can with Luke Shaw. I think defensively, he's very, very solid. Very solid. I think he's a perfect Ten Hag fullback, if I'm honest, because I think he's excellent in the build-up play. I think he's absolutely excellent. You can talk about his fitness, but I think his engine's really good. He gets up and down the touchline all day, and that's only going to improve. Really happy with Luke Shaw again. But moving on from Luke Shaw, let's move on to the person that gets my man of the match vote. And you're going to be surprised that this rating's so high, to be fair, but a little bit of emotion coming from the match winner, match drawing goal. But Casemiro, my man of the match today. Passion, desire, intelligence to break up play, the willingness, the sheer desire to leap and get on the end of that and head it in. And it's an unbelievable header, by the way. It's not just your run-of-the-mill header in the 94th minute. It's an unbelievable header. The ball's clipped back to him. He arches his neck and puts it literally top bins. It is world-class from one of our only world-class players today. I thought it was absolutely a sensational way to wrap up a performance for Casemiro. I think the whole midfield looks better with him in it. I think Bruno Fernandes in general looks better with Casemiro in the team. The whole Casemiro-Eriksen balance was a little bit off today, but I'm putting that down to Eriksen just getting back a bit of fitness. He didn't press as much as he usually does. He was a bit sloppy on the ball, but he's lacking a bit of match fitness at the moment. But Casemiro, it's the intelligence on the ball. It's the right foot, left foot. And if you give him space, like they did in the first 35 minutes, he can hurt you. He played quite a few really nice passes in that first 35 minutes, and we should have really taken advantage and scored. But yeah, great from Casemiro today. Very happy with him. Happy that he's finally showing the form that brought him to the club. And it's a pretty strange one, because whether you believe he's an Erik ten Hag signing or not, we might have the lucky stars to thank and maybe some fans for the revolt against the whole Adrian Rabiot and Marco Arnautovic thing, because I think the backlash from that, from the fans and all the emails in and stuff, may have just forced the Glazers into doing something and dipping into their pocket and making a marquee signing at the end of the window. And that marquee signing might just happen to be the player that's just created the moment that gets us top 4 at the end of our season, because that draw leaves us 1 point behind Chelsea instead of 4 points behind Chelsea. We're obviously behind Spurs, but we've got a game in hand on Spurs. And that's all come from a player that, let's face it, 2 weeks before the window closed, we weren't going to sign. We weren't in for Casemiro 2 weeks before the window closed. So maybe we've got the fan revolt to thank for the fact that they dipped in their pocket and they spent 70 million euros, 60 million pound on one of the top 3 CDMs in the world, because he was absolutely phenomenal. And on this from Brush, fingers crossed, he turns out to be our Makelele to Chelsea. Obviously paid a little bit more for him, mate, but if he does half of what Makelele did for Chelsea, then I'll be happy. Makelele, I was around in that era, and he was some player for them. And love the passion from Casse. It was one of the things I had question marks over, since he's on 300k a week, but this is what we want to see. Players who take pride in being here, and I'm 100% the same, mate. If you think about like these players that were signing, this was the whole argument with De Jong in the summer, right? It's like you're literally twerking for this player. You want this player so bad, but this player doesn't want to be here. Whereas you look at like the Anthony scenario, and it's like he's gone on strike to be here. And while you may not necessarily agree with the player going on strike, you've got to realize the passion and desire that the player shows, that is desperate to come. And you're going to get different performance levels, forget ability, but just from someone that really wants to be here and do his job day in, day out, you're going to get a different level of ability to someone that is like not that bothered and wants to be somewhere else, but is here because you gave them a wedge of cash. So I completely agree. He looks like he's taking pride in being here. He looks like he loves the whole Manchester United thing. That celebration at the end is fantastic. I might have to like clip it up and just make it into a reel and play it again and again and again. I might put it as the intro on my channel, like "Welcome to Football and Fitness United," and then just have Casse screaming, "Yes, yes, yes, come on," because it was absolutely great to see. Love seeing that from Casemiro today. And that moment alone is why he gets my man of the match and why he's an 8 for me. The rest of the midfield, I coupled them together, to be honest. I thought Eriksen and Bruno didn't have their best games. I gave Eriksen a 6. I thought he was off the pace, if I'm honest. I thought he was off the pace compared to what he usually is. I understand Ten Hag bringing him in. He didn't think we could play Fred and Casemiro and press them as high up the pitch with that, like, just the effort level that we showed against Spurs. We really, like, we swallowed the whole pitch against Spurs, didn't we? We just couldn't, like, we absolutely suffocated them. And I think he gave a bit more respect to this Chelsea team and Graham Potter, and he didn't think we'd be able to do that. And if you look at the press in the first half, this is what I noticed. It's like you have Bruno and Rashford pressing, but then their centre-backs, like Thiago Silva's a good ball player. I know he didn't have his best game today, but he is a good ball player. And he was just clipping the ball over one of them to the wing-backs, and then they were away, basically, because there was no secondary level of the press. So it wasn't real. If it was our game plan, it wasn't executed today, but I don't think it was our game plan to really press them mega high up the pitch. And that's why Eriksen was in the team, and it just didn't fully pay off. I think he was just not up to speed, but he has been ill and he's probably not had many training sessions. So understandably wasn't up to speed today. And that's why he gave me a 6. Alan says 6 and Bruno 6. And that's exactly what I went with, mate. I was like, Bruno Fernandes 6. He's coming off a high, obviously. He was excellent against Spurs, arguably man of the match. Capped his performance off with a goal. I thought he was very, very good. Today, he just didn't really impact the game, did he? He didn't have the same impact. He was high energy like Bruno always is, but didn't have his best passing game. And again, I will say it, and people can hate on me for it, but I hate the fact Bruno plays referee. I really despise it when he throws himself to the floor, when he waves cards in people's faces. And worst of all today, someone kind of stepped on his toe a little bit, right? And he just stopped. And by the way, if the ref doesn't give that, they're in. He has no right to stop there. He is not the referee. He does not have the ability to stop a game of football. He does not have the authority to stop that game of football. It's your job as a football player to play to the whistle. Whether you think you've been fouled or not, he was capable of still running after that ball and playing it. He had possession. Instead, he just stopped. completely not okay from Bruno, and he needs to get that out of his game ASAP, because that could have resulted in a Chelsea goal. And if they'd have gone to VAR, would it have stopped it? Probably not. Probably not, because it was really soft. There wasn't much in it at all. So for me, Bruno, that's a really petulant side of Bruno that I don't like. But I don't think he was on it today. But yeah, he needs to get that out of his game ASAP if possible. And next, we're on to the front three. We'll start off with our £80 million man, Anthony. Didn't think he was great today. I think he gets you excited sometimes, like he gets you off your seat, and he's got the potential, but for £80 million, right, I want a right foot. And in the past few games, it's just been about the crossing, right? Like he had a chance early in the first half where he was away from the defender and he could have put a ball in with his right foot and he didn't. He cut back on his left, laid it back to Dello, I think it was, and then the attack kind of fizzled out. So he needs a right foot there. But boy, does he need a right foot for that shot at the end of the first half. Like, what a time to score that would have been. It was like, injury time at the end of the first half? And it's literally, if you've got a right foot, it's a goal. It's 100% a goal. If you've got any kind of right foot, it's a goal. And there was news breaking a couple of weeks ago that Erik ten Hag was making players take part in training sessions with their wrong foot or something. Well, Anthony needs to work harder, because if he has a right foot, that's 1-0. And it's a different game right before halftime. There's a lot I like about Anthony, but my pet peeve is players not being two-footed. And you can talk about people like Ryan Giggs, he only had a left foot and it was a wand and stuff. And yeah, there are players that are one-sided. Arjen Robben did it as well. But for me, if you're two-footed, it gives you more options. At least work on it so you trust the ability of your right foot to cross or to finish. I'm not saying you're going to do that every time, but when the opportunity is there, you shouldn't feel like you have to cut back because you're going to embarrass yourself if you take it on your right foot. That's not good. But Anthony, yeah, it didn't really affect things massively. 5 for me today. Good work ethic. Work off the ball is good, as always, but didn't do enough on the ball and missed that chance, which was a big thing. Let's have this discussion. Get in the comments what you think about this man at the moment, because Jadon Sancho's a 4 for me. And I don't like being negative, but I'm struggling to see how Sancho has got a spot in the team at the moment. When Martial was fit, I said on a BBC podcast, I basically said the front three picks itself. And they called me out on it because they were like, no, Jadon Sancho's got really good ability. He's had an all right season. And I'm like, I don't see it. I really don't see it. When everyone was fit, that front three picked itself. And there's a big shout at the moment. And again, people may shut me down for it. I think Elanga has to start. I'm not saying he's the answer going forward, but I'm saying that if you're Erik ten Hag and you're picking people based on form, Jadon Sancho's form has been very, very poor. We've got no options up front as a 9. Rashford has to start because Ronaldo deservedly was not in the squad today. So Rashford's up front. Your right winger is Anthony. On your left wing, you've got no chance. You've got Elanga or you've got Garnacho, but one of them deserves a start because Jadon Sancho is stinking up the place at the moment. His effort level off the ball, not great. His tracking back, non-existent. He's just like, I want to see an arrogant Jadon Sancho. I want to see someone that believes that they can take a man on, that doesn't check back every single time. There was twice today that he played a 1-2 and didn't go for the return ball. It's like everyone was like, Jadon Sancho's a pass and move footballer. He's not a dribbler. He passes it, goes. He passes and doesn't move. He never, ever goes to the return. He never finds himself in space. And he needs to change that about his game, because at the moment, I don't see Sancho in our best 11. Alan saying very poor again. Brush saying Elanga has definitely thrown his hat in the ring. Yeah, I don't see why not. And Alan saying, I bet you Gakpo is in next year. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, he was basically twerking for United, wasn't he, the other day? And I wouldn't be surprised to see him in if it's going to be 30 or 40 million euros or whatever it is, because he seems to be doing bits for PSV. But Sancho's just not the answer at the moment. And I tell you what, 80 million euros or 75 million or whatever it was, it's like, I don't know what we're going to do with him, because he's just not it at the moment. And I'm not saying his potential isn't high. We all know Jadon Sancho's potential is very, very high. But again, I got asked a question on the radio the other day, and it was about the 4 United players and going to the World Cup. And it was obviously Maguire, Shaw, Rashford and Sancho. And they said, who's the person that needs to impress and is least likely to go? And I'm like, it's Jadon Sancho, without a shadow of a doubt. Like, Maguire is a stalwart in Southgate's team, whether we like it or not. Luke Shaw is in great form and is arguably England's best left back, if not second best left back. Marcus Rashford is in good form in terms of like how he's playing. He's had a relatively good season and he offers something different to all other strikers that England have. Whereas Jadon Sancho, they've got a lot of options in that position and he's not exactly tearing it up for club form if he gets any game time at all. And he's in real danger of missing out on that World Cup squad. And I'll be brutally honest, if I was Gareth Southgate, I'm not taking him at the moment. I'm not. I don't think he's offering enough in a Manchester United shirt when he's given the opportunity to go to Qatar, which is crazy for a person of Jadon Sancho's talent, but I don't see it at the moment. It's bizarre. Rashford for me today, moving on to the striker, was a 5. He's got a chance one-on-one. Now, I see a lot of people saying he's blasting it. He tries to lift it, but the keeper's like, Kepa does a really good job of getting out quick, in fairness. There's not much Rashford can do there. He has another chance where he powers it. So I think he had 2 shots on target during the game. Listen, he does need to improve his finishing. He does. But he is creating enough chances for himself and getting in good enough positions, which other strikers aren't for us at the moment, that eventually he will score goals. Like the lower of averages says that. However, and I will say this, and I've said this before about Rashford, when you've worked alongside Cristiano Ronaldo, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Radamel Falcao, Wayne Rooney, Edison Cavani, and you've been managed by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who are arguably 6 lethal finishers, and you're still blasting the ball at goalkeepers one-on-one, surely if he was going to learn, he'd have learned by now with that kind of input. And I know Henri picked up on it in the studio the other night and was basically like, you've just got to curl it in the corner. You have to do that. And whoever was with him was like, not everyone's you. Not everyone's that intelligent. And Thierry just turned around and was like, well, you should be. And it's very easy. It comes naturally for some people, but obviously for Rashford, it doesn't. Let's move on to the subs. Fred, for me, didn't really impact the game. Don't think he was great, so he gets just under average from me. He gets a 5. Don't think he kept hold of the ball well. He got around a little bit, did okay, but sloppy in possession, and didn't have the impact that really he was supposed to have. If you look at Graham Potter's substitutions when he brought Kovacic on, and then he brought who's the American guy? He brought Pulisic on as well. And when he changed the system, he had much more of a success and counted us. So his in-game management was arguably better than Eric Ten Hag's today, which didn't really, none of the substitutes really worked. The forced one, which was Lindelof for Varane, was okay. Lindelof was decent. But Fred, for me, was a 5. But let's go on to the actual person that didn't work out. And it's Scott McTominay. What are you thinking, Scott? What are you thinking, lad? Like, I will defend you when I can, when I think it's worthy. And when it's not and you deserve criticism, you'll get it from me. And you'll get it from me today. Because your teammates have worked really, really hard for 85 minutes to keep themselves in a game at Stamford Bridge, which is a really tough place to go. People like Lisandro Martinez, Diogo Dalot, Luke Shaw, that have fought for the badge. They've fought for the shirt. They've given everything during that game. And then you come on to help shore up the game and make sure we don't lose. Kind of a defensive substitution, but I'm all right with it. Corner comes in. I'm all right with you trying to block your man. That's fine. That happens. Put a little arm across someone, give them a nudge. That's fine. That won't get given. That'll never get given as a penalty. Or you'll be very unlucky if it does. You cannot put 2 arms around someone and basically help them or throw them to the floor. You cannot do that. And you are then giving them a chance, one of the best penalty takers in the world. You're giving them a chance from 12 yards, when if you look at his conversion, there's probably a 6 or 7, well, it's probably 7 out of 8 chance that he's going to score that. And you've put it on a plate for him. You've given it them. When realistically, is he scoring a header or something at that near post, Broha? No. So you don't need to do that. People talk about the lack of intelligence or football intelligence from Scott McTominay. He showed it tonight. There was none. For that split second, in that moment, for that decision, there was none. He needs to take accountability for that. And I'll tell you what happened. He gave Casemiro their biggest hug at the end. and it still wasn't big enough, because that man has got you out of a massive hole tonight, a massive hole. Because if he hadn't scored that goal, he would have been absolutely slated on social media and in the newspapers and in the media in general, because he has come on and made a senseless decision that has cost United 3 points. Well, basically, it could have cost them 3 points, or should have if it wasn't for Casemiro. Senseless decision from Scott McTominay. Absolutely senseless and very, very poor. So he's very lucky that Casemiro pulled out a moment of magic. Very, very lucky. For some reason, my marks disappeared from Lindelof. But Lindelof, I'll give a 6. Maybe a 6.5, to be honest, because he was good when he came on. I thought he was solid. And like I said, I'm intrigued for the next few weeks, because I think that Martinez is obviously a very capable centre-back. And I think Lindelof's a very capable person with the ball at his feet. And you actually, I think against low block teams and people that are going to sit back, and you want your defenders to play a bit higher up and be able to drive with the ball into midfield and play in between the lines, I think Lindelof's going to suit that system, and I think the whole Lindelof and Martinez against weaker teams. So when we play West Ham soon, and if we play Villa in the Cup and then a couple of other teams, I think it could work really well with Lindelof and Martinez. And I'm not as worried as other people are at the moment, but I am gutted for Rafa Varane, that's for sure. I'm absolutely gutted for him. But yeah, interesting game, man. Interesting game. Finished 1-1. If you'd have offered me that beforehand, I'd have obviously taken it. But the way it all happened, it was crazy. I was absolutely gutted and so annoyed at Scott for what he did. And then I'm obviously ecstatic with Casemiro. So I'm kind of finishing on a bit of a high, but it's gutting, man. It really is gutting. So this next week, I think we've got Sheriff on the Thursday. And then if we got on the Sunday, we've got West Ham on the Sunday. So there'll be plenty of content coming. I should be at both games because Sheriff away? No, Sheriff's at home. Sheriff's at home and West Ham's at home. So should be at both games. So might be recording stuff from the ground, but if not, and I'm doing stuff on here, then I'll hit you guys up. And as always, big up for all the support. 500 and odd subs today is absolutely mental. Like, if I carry on at this rate, I'll be at 1,000, like, not to count my chickens, but I could be at 1,000 in like a couple of weeks, which would be absolutely insane. And big thank you to all you guys who support and convinced me to start this journey, because it's been fun. And sometimes not so fun if we lose or whatever, like the stuff after the derby was tough. But in general, love chatting football with you guys. I'm going to do some one-on-one reactions with people as well. So interviews. So if you want to do anything, just inbox me. I'll set up a thing like this. We'll either go live or pre-record it. And I'll ask you a couple of questions to get your feedback on the game and then post it to my channel. So yeah, if you want to do that, then hit me up. As it says at the bottom, like the video, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Even if you watch live, if you could do all that, it's great. If you can click on the video afterwards, put some comments, start a discussion in the comment section. That all basically helps me get seen on YouTube. So it all helps massively. But that aside, I've been James. This has been Football and Fitness United. Chelsea won, Manchester United won, and we go again on Thursday. Take care, guys.